Biz on the track.
It's be on the beat.
How you supposed to have light if you got solar missing? Everything seem bright with solar vision. A whole court and a witness, nobody noticed missing. I'm my own judge, jury, and the co-defendant. It ain't an idol with its solar image. Get to the core, my nigga, no pretending. Hotter than Jamie Foxx on a solar mission. Melchizedek, no beginning nor an ending. Ain't no need to study long if you gon' study wrong. Got me chasing the ghost with no lully bones. Blew a hustle anywhere but never hustle home. Mama prayed for his soul cause he ain't coming home. Watch you doctrine get demolished. Bluetooth pilots for YouTube scholars. I do for knowledge, not no stupid dollars. My new provider make them hoop and holler. In the lead for the light bringers, Illuminati. You ain't doing nada and blue ain't bother. Can't be rolling with you with no stupid MAGA. No Candace Owens, I don't do Kamala. Free flowing out this new Kabbalah. Lumen in the garden, hit a human olive. And you can get this stick with no soup and salad. Blue seek asylum on a Cuban island. My newest challenge is live a long life. Can't nobody live it for you, you gon' live your own life. Right place, wrong time, I'm in the valley where the bones dry. I prophesy till the bones rise. How you supposed to have light if you got solar missing? Everything seem bright with solar vision. A whole court and a witness, nobody noticed missing. I'm my own judge, jury, and the co-defendant. It ain't an idol with its solar image. Get to the core, my nigga, no pretending. Hotter than Jamie Foxx on a solar mission. Melchizedek, no beginning nor an ending. Wake up, Jacob, tell him it's urgent. Identify me by the blessings, never the curses. Walk on water, but I never submerging. You a goon on Zoom, but never in person. My verses merge with the ancient letters. My rating's good, but my rank is better. You soft as Wayne and baby's leather. If I bring my best, you can't do better. Local natives surrounded by the foreigners. The throne of David, the crown is Moorish. I can anoint the babies and crown the poorest. I'm rolling out, I found the forest. Lex told me keep a head and a leg up. Y'all rob with a tank at your head, bruh. Consul told Blue keep your bread up. Seen solar at the door like lead. Yeah, I'm shooting for the top like Rick Berry. Sneaking baseline trying to rip Parrish. This is where your talking points get perished. Just to be a champion like Chris Harris. How you supposed to have light if you got solar missing? Everything seem bright with solar vision. A whole court and a witness, nobody noticed missing. I'm my own judge, jury, and the co-defendant. It ain't an idol with its solar image. Get to the core, my nigga, no pretending. Hotter than Jamie Foxx on a solar mission. Melchizedek, no beginning nor an ending.
Ryu, this is crazy.
Yeah. Watch.
Y'all already know what time it is, huh?
Watch.
Ryu, this is crazy.
All right. Shout out to everybody in the building. Appreciate everybody that's in the building. Definitely just had, man, godly. It's been turned up all day. Turned up all day. I got to first say this. It is an art to listen. It's an art to listen. And hearing someone is not the same thing as listening to somebody. It's two different things. It's two different things. You can hear me, and the whole time you be thinking about how you finna counter whatever the fuck I'm saying, or whatever you got on going on in your mind. You don't even much listen or pay any attention to my argument. And it's funny watching that. And it's tough because when you don't listen, it's tough for you to grow in information. It's gonna be tough for you to grow. Like you're gonna really kind of stay stagnant. Because part of being not only listening, it plays a role in helping you shape your argument or make your point, or even, decide on, whether what that person is saying or is making any kind of sense. But the first thing it's going to start with is you listening. So first off, man, let me shout out everybody that's in the building. Power to the dark side, everybody. I already know what time it is. Special praise to the most beautiful goddess of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The most beautiful STEM yard, whose image is the most beautiful Whoopi Goldberg. Shout out to Mongo Slade in the building. Power to the dark side, God body. J Miss Royal in the building. Always appreciated. Astro, power to the dark side, God. Karai, the introvert. Definitely appreciate you in the building. Who raised you, boy? Appreciate you. So we got a few things we're gonna kind of get into. Shout out to Juju. Appreciate you in the building. We definitely, um, and this will be an open panel for those who wanna, who wanna jump in the mix. I'll be dropping the link. I know it probably be some people who want to, get a few things off of their chest. But I think what I seen earlier gave me a reason to kind of get into how you actually argue before we even get into the playoffs, right? So it's definitely gonna be, I'll have some slides up, and whenever we get some people in the building that actually want to join the panel, we'll do that. Shout out to Hood Therapy, appreciate you in the building. Quite sure we get a lot more people coming through. Lex was over here going to war on the Abos channel. Um, that's a fucking headache. We found out that the Abos are 100% American, and that the white man is they people, and that they're willing to kill us for them. It was a bunch of confusion. I couldn't believe my ears. I don't know why I couldn't believe my ears. I don't know why it was such a shock. But damn, that was a lot to find out. So very interesting. We'll get into a few. I got some slides put together for us today. So the first thing we'll be getting into when we're talking about argument, right? And we're talking about debate, we got to deal with three main focuses, right? The ethos, the pathos, and the logos, right? What are they and how to use them, right? The three traditional modes of persuasion. This is how you able to actually lay down your argument, how you able to persuade the crowd, persuade the judges, and appeal what they call, some people would say appealing to authority or different that. But in some ways, this is how you appeal to the crowd and different things like that. This is you getting yourself a chance to actually kind of check your energy and see what you kind of bring to the table, right? So let's get into it. So first thing first, what is ethos? And it's going to be important for you because this not only works for you in an argument, this can work for you getting a job interview, this can work for you just in any kind of discussion. Maybe you getting ready to write a speech and you got a speech that you got to do in front of people. These are multiple ways in order for you to kind of show you how you not only engage judges or maybe the person that you're engaging in a discussion with, but also how you engage the audience. Also how you engage the audience. So let's talk about it. So ethos is when a speaker or a writer appeals to the authority as a means of persuasion. They use words to convince the audience of their reputation, virtue, intelligence, or even their professional qualifications. So a lot of times you'll see people kind of running down the list before they kind of get into necessarily the discussion with you, or maybe sometimes when they want you to kind of back down from a discussion, sometimes you might see them lean on their qualifications as a means of why they should be controlling the argument or why they're an expert on the discussion, right? So those are it's multiple ways when we talk about it. So this way, the audience is more inclined, right, to believe in the argument presented. Of course, in order to be effective, the speaker or the writer doesn't necessarily have to have these virtues, but just appear to. So part of this, when you're engaging in the audience or you're engaging your opponent, right? A part of that is whether you have it or not, is going to be how your poker face. right? Your poker face. Now, this is gonna be big when we talk about going into the playoffs, because a lot of this is what you're gonna need not only to persuade the crowd, but persuade the judges, right? Now, for most of you, it really won't matter because I'm sending you the fuck home anyway. Just gonna be real, sending you home. But we'll get into it anyway, right? So when we talk about what is pathos, right? What is pathos? Pathos is the act of evoking emotions in the audience or the readers in order to persuade, right? The speaker or the writer uses words to manipulate people into feeling empathy, desire, anger, joy, virtually any kind of emotion. So when you're talking about pathos, this is when you are making an argument and say we're having maybe a political discussion on maybe capitalism or something like that. The pathos is the part where you kind of we're talking about. Let's say we're talking about is capitalism good for Black people in general. So your pathos, what you would be using to engage the argument in that, if you're engaging a Black audience, is that you would go back to some of the trauma and some of the things that maybe we could all relate to, in order to kind of get you guys to get familiar or comfortable with exactly I'm arguing. So I may want you to feel anger. I may want you to feel some of the sadness or something like that. These are some of the things in order just to kind of get you engaged and actually comprehending what I'm arguing over my opponent, right? So to do so, they need to understand who they are talking to, right? So this is who's your crowd in the greater societal context, right? Quite well. So it's not only who the crowd, but how does this affect them socially? How were they socially affected and how are they drawn in to your argument exactly? Multiple phases. We talk about what is logos. What is logos? Right? Logos is the act of appealing to the logic of the audience or the readers. Right? This is more so when you simplify the argument. Well, you try to simplify it to like, well, 2 + 2 = 4. And sometimes a lot of times arguments aren't that simple, but if you can do a good job with logic, then you can kind of get people, you can simplify the argument in the way that they're looking at it as it's just as simple as apples and oranges, right? So is the act of appealing to the logic of the audience or reader. Here, the speaker or the writer's effort is focused on the rational validity of the argument proposed. So mind you, this is even when you're writing, maybe you're writing an essay, maybe you're writing some sort of article, anything that you might be engaged in writing, you're trying to basically uh, uh, draw emotion in some sense. But with this, the pathos, you would be trying to draw on the logic of the people, right? Breaking down, maybe if we're talking about capitalism, you break it down to, okay, so if they have all of the capital and capitalism, in order to be a capitalist, you need capital. Wouldn't that mean that we can't be capitalists? And though the argument isn't that simple, but that's how you're trying to make it. You're trying to make it that simple for the audience to be able to keep along, right? So usually this comes together with the use of facts, data, statistics, and other logical demonstrations. As with ethos, logos doesn't necessarily have to be logically sound to be effective, but it does have to appear to be. You have to at least appear to be using logic, right? So now let's get into how to use these things. We're gonna look at how we use these different forms. So when we talk about how you use ethos, right? The next time that you're posting on social media or giving a presentation in the office, or try using ethos. Talk about your past experiences and qualifications. Make sure your audience knows who you are and why they should trust your voice, right? So a lot of times, what you'll see in a lot of ways, even when we talk about like a news anchor, right? Uh, we talk about the reason why a Fox News or a CNN is so successful with what they're able to do. But a lot of times, the camaraderie that they build They able to kind of build an ethos, a pathos, and a logos with their audience over years. You kind of gradually grow up with them, right? Until they grow out, and then they bring in the new blood, and then the next generation kind of grows up with them. And as you grow up with them, you begin to trust their words, you begin to trust their arguments, and from that point on, it's kind of really nothing wrong that they can say. So actually, though, right? You may not be aware you use ethos quite often already. Anytime you've asked a listener to trust in what you are saying based on your character or expertise, you're working with your ethos, right? So to use ethos effectively, right, you need to remember your audience. What do they need to hear in order to believe you? What kind of background details can you give them? Keep in mind that ethos is highly relative since the qualities that are expected in one's field aren't necessarily the ones hold on, let me move this. Aren't necessarily the ones another audience will value. So you kind of got to be careful with this. That's why you kind of checking the temperature of the room. The whole you might have some of the audience who can relate to maybe your expertise in the financial field or whatnot, but then you still at the same time have to remember maybe you have an audience who doesn't relate to that type of argument, who doesn't necessarily follow along with you. So now how do you engage them or make sure that they are able to continue to feel like they're involved in your discussion? Because the main thing is that you're pulling the audience in and you're trying to make everybody feel included and a part of your argument. So when we talk about how to use pathos, pathos is a very effective way to bring the audience over to your own perspective. But you have to be keenly aware of number one, the kind of emotion you want to elicit, and number two, what truth you're going to draw on to trigger that emotion, right? So two things: the kind of emotion that you want to elicit from them. So, is it a situation where you want anger from them? Is it a situation where you're trying to maybe create some sort of fear propaganda or something like that? Uh, it just kind of depends on what kind of emotion that you want. And now, once you know what kind of emotion, now you need to know what type of rhetoric you need to use in order to draw that emotion up out of them, right? So maybe in order to draw the emotion up out of them, it's not just mentioning that that Harriet Tubman freed people through the Underground Railroad. Maybe in this instance, the discussion becomes you more so talking about how far she had to travel, how worn her shoes was, how tired they was, how little food that they had on the way. These are the type of things you're trying to do in order to bring your audience in to get them to feel the story. Because in a way, you kind of want them to be able to smell what your argument, taste your argument, feel it, right? In multiple ways. So you have to work backwards in a way, then build a narrative to encapsulate that truth. You can simply plop the truth on a platter. Show but don't tell. So you basically put it out there for people in a way to kind of draw their own conclusion in a way, right? You set it out there and it's like, well, what you think that this is, right? So look at all those skateboards and Coca-Cola commercials. They aren't simply saying Coca-Cola will make you feel good. They show people who feel good drinking what? Drinking Coca-Cola. Moreover, pathos is most effective if used sparingly. You don't want to be too sappy or forced. An audience can smell a faker a mile away. Don't forget to use analogies, humor, surprise, body language, maybe even visuals if the form is right. So these are things that are definitely gonna need to be carrying as we talk about moving forward into the playoffs. Now we're gonna get at how to use logos. Let's keep it moving. Yeah, definitely, Exile. I'm trying to make sure I'm prepared. Trying to make sure I'm prepared. I ain't got no excuse. And especially by the time I see Domo, I need to be 100%, on point with this. About it, because I heard enough today to know I'm gonna see Domo real soon. Because niggas on my side just can't listen. Like so, about that. But anyway, logos is a powerful tool because it often stands on irrefutable hard data and statistics. It doesn't need the charisma of the orator or the emotions of the audience to make a to make a well-reasoned argument. That said, how the audience receives it is another topic entirely. Dry facts can come across stilted, if not cushioned by the speaker's charisma. So that's a danger. Maybe if you say you going up against a donor, yeah, you have your facts, but you're kind of spilling it out dry, and his charisma is showing more command and control over the argument. You're gonna begin to kind of have some trouble, right? Even though maybe you're right statistically, according to the data, according to maybe the history books or whatever it is, you may be right, but your command, you don't sound like you necessarily have more command than he does. He's more believable at that moment, right? So to use logos most effectively, temper it with common speech that everyone can understand. Meaning they basically don't just be running off a bunch of numbers. You need to, in a way, break these statistics down into a simple way where everybody can understand it, right? So if your topic is complex, use simple words to explain it. That goes again into knowing who your audience is. So don't hide your beautiful argument behind complicated words, jargon, or generalization. Be as specific and concrete as possible with examples and stress the most important parts. Power to the dark side. Appreciate you, Ms. Woody Reeves in the building. Right? So you definitely want to make sure that you tapping in on those most important points. Right? So we talk about those three. Now, the ideal debate is for you to be able to use all three. Right? That's what you would ideally want to be able to do. You're looking righteously to be able to use all three whenever you're in a debate or an argument or a discussion or something like that. But for some discussions, you're gonna need to lean on drawing in the emotions of the crowd. And for some discussions, you're gonna have to lean on more the statistics, right? But at the same time, the thing is when you're going with the statistics more in that direction, now you got to understand it. And in that way, now you're going to have to you're going to have to be able to simplify it, right? And you're talking about the logos, you're going to have to make sure that you're able to simplify the conversation as easy as possible. So when we talk about listening, right, and people who don't listen, they don't understand simple things like, let's just talk about like race, right? We talk about things like race and people being racist. And this is where a lot of people run into trouble at when they get inside of a debate, is because they believe that if I put up a definition that this is the end all be all to whatever the topic is. And no, and see what a lot of people don't realize about definitions is definitions are limited. It's a definition does not necessarily hold weight when you're talking about a word inside you being used in a discussion. We have to get into the function of the word. How does that word, what type of impact does that have when it's actually used? Those are different situations. So you have people who will go, and this is how simplified And this is how behind niggas is. To where you think that you can go to a definition of racism, pull that, and then apply that to black people. You got to be silly as shit. You can't take the definition based on what you read in there. I don't care if you read it in Merriam-Webster, wherever the hell you read it at. Once you've read that definition, now the next discussion becomes how is this actually applied in society? How is it applied? You can't just read the word fire, right? You read the definition of the word fire and then pick up my rap book and then think that you're just going to debate on based off the definition of fire and and not include the context in which I wrote the rhyme in. It doesn't work like that. Shout out to I'm new here. Must be nice. Appreciate you in the building. So it's like, and this is where you be no understanding that is levels to having a discussion with people. And it's an art to listening. An art to listening. That's not the same thing as hearing me. It's just not. It's not. And so no matter how much you try to break it down and get people to like we're talking about racism as black people, you should never need to go and use the fucking dictionary. It's a reason why they shape and mold it in that way. If you think that if you're going to view racism in the way that it impacts you through the lens of Merriam-Webster, you are out of your fucking mind. Shout out the scheme, power to the dark side, God. Appreciate you in the building. You're out of your mind. You cannot use you're now allowing not only white people to continue, like you're really showing the superiority. Not only are they allowed to impact you with racism, but also you are now allowing them to define how it actually functions in society, excluding you. No, that's not. That, and then the sad part is not understanding when actually the pushback is, or the breakdown is that no, clowning becomes reverse racism. But that's what I say about when we talk about actually the art of listening. And that's what's going to separate a lot of debaters. And it continues to every year, separates a lot of debaters. Shout out to Azar, power to the dark side, God. Appreciate you in the building. A lot of the ability to be able to listen to the person that is next to you is going to be vital to what not only you're able to rebut, how you're able to argue, and also if you're going to be able to move on to the next phase or to the next round. A lot of the things I went over tonight is going to be vital to whether you go on to the next round. You're going to need to figure out if you're going to need the pathos, you're going to need the ethos, or you're going to need the logos. You're going to need to figure out whether you need all three. If you're shaping your argument, especially when coming into the playoffs, you need to make sure that you're studying your logical fallacies. You need to make sure that when you're shaping your argument, you have a sound understanding of the three arts of persuasion. You have to. And like I'm listening to the discussion earlier, and I'm just hearing that, like the major and number one, it was never meant to be a discussion at first. But I don't know why I keep calling it a discussion. It wasn't meant to be a discussion. It was meant to be. It was like a campaign set up. It's a nice little gesture, and so got to go on this campaign set up and try to like kind of persuade maybe like the judges and the audience to kind of like, you kind of put a bug in the ear. It's kind of like when you call a timeout and the coach kind of goes over to the referee and like, hey, he fouling him every play. Down there on the base, he want the referee to go, look a little bit extra at that type of stuff. But it's a borderline between you doing that and then you constantly kind of like discrediting a nigga's argument. And the hard part about it is when is when you're trying to like literally have a discussion with somebody that's slower than you, but they're so cocky that they not even fucking hearing you. And so instantly that makes you like you cool with like so because you at first you're cool because they don't know the answer. So it's cool. I'm willing to explain it to you. But it's like when you give them the answer and they have this like cocky way of like shooing you off, and it's like they ain't fucking studied that shit, that'll send you off the cliff. Like, nigga, I just told you I read the fucking book. Now you gonna argue me and tell me about the book. Now I'm finna flip. Like it turns to that like type of energy. I said, man, a lot of times it's a little bit more than just not listening, right? Because I think what we witnessed today was also niggas was just on like niggas trying to be on some old shit. Niggas was trying to be on some old shit. But it's very slippery and slick. And that's why you have to be careful when you conversing with people who are so kind. Like every word that you use, because tone is like people would like try to pretend like tone is everything. Like because I'm talking soft and low to you, I'm not undermining you or being like disrespectful. Like, come on, bro. We're smarter than that. And so I think we witnessed that today was one trying to be condescending and pretend like he was mellow and really calm and cool, but all the while, then they been doing some foul shit. This is what people do, though. This is what people do, and try to make you look like you're crazy or you're bad. And then I already said something you can't even have a discussion with because like it begins to be every like you're actually supposed to be conversing, and instead he's debating or they're debating every single word that you use. Now they want to pick at the tone that you said it in. Then next they want to pick at, whether you use sarcasm or not, they'll pretend like they don't see that. So there's no discussion for people like that. Like that's somebody that's trying to irritate you and get you to lay hands on them. That's it. They're not there to make no like there's somebody that's not there to make any type of progress. I already said we seen that when we had our intervention with the nigga. The niggas still think he was in a debate. You got niggas believing that they beat it was 30 niggas and I beat them all up. Like nobody came to fight you, dumbass. Nobody came to fight you. And it just kind of shows a blindness. It's like a lack of like I want to say like self-awareness. It's almost like a lack of awareness in fucking general. Like when you can't even read the room, what's going on around you. Like, come on, yo, it's crazy. So you gotta be careful. That's why when you having discussions with people who play slick games like that, it's best just not to discuss. It's best to just shut up because the little condescending shit that's there to trigger you, especially when you're on when the discussion is on something that you outwit them in. It's no question that they don't know what the fuck they talking about, and then that's when they pretend like they want to agree to disagree, but really it's like this. Well, I'll agree to disagree, but I really know that you just don't know what the fuck you talking about, type shit. Even though they don't have an answer, but like motherfuckers was just like, you got the answer. They don't want to see it. They go blind. They turn a blind. No, I don't want to see that. I'll look at it another time or some shit. Like, damn. Okay, cool. So it was just funny to watch how that discussion unfolded. Uh, it was quite as entertaining as it was. It was quite revealing. It was revealing. I think those were the issues that people have been having, and it just showed. It's like you're not trying to. You're running a campaign to say because remember in this discussion I heard earlier, the words that were used specifically was that the judges were afraid to vote against you. Like, damn, that's the only reason why you won is because the judges were afraid to vote against you. You know what kind of what are you saying when you say that? What do you think that means to me? That basically I got in there and I ain't say shit. Peace, Emily M. I appreciate you in the building. Think about that. If you could go and say, hey, and 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 you, I can only imagine how this shit probably triggers Domo because he's looking like out of all fucking people, like to really be like I know I watched you. You're trash. Like we're not even close. I'm playing cool, like pretending like we in the same ballpark. But like now, what the fuck you doing is just getting all out disrespectful, nigga. It's getting disrespectful because basically you're saying we can't. I came with an argument. Everybody was too stupid to see it, and the ones who weren't too stupid to see it were afraid to say something other than. So it means that if everybody was too stupid to see your argument and they were too afraid to not vote against him, like where exactly are you giving a nigga credit at exactly for whooping your ass? Where does the credit come in? I knocked you out, and all you talking about is well, you slipped and hit your head on the concrete. No, I was a part of that fucking slip, dumbass. I was a part of that slip. You didn't just fall and hit your head. I hit you in your shit, and then you fell. But the disrespect, niggas is losing their mind. And then you have, you know, the appeal to authority. You know, it's ways that you do stuff. Like it's ways that you critique a debate or your opponent. And one of the ways that you don't do it is by claiming that they didn't bring anything but lies. And the worst part about when you do that, at least understand the fucking argument, nigga. Like at least understand the discussion that you having. It really was sad to listen to because it was almost like all of the great work from the elders that they did was just like went right out the window. Like they literally warned you about these times and what was getting ready to shape and then redefining race and racism and reversing the shit on you and you fall right into the fucking trap. Right into the goddamn trap. I just heard some ambos say they would shoot us on behalf of the white man. Goddamn. I was looking, I thought it was something odd, and I'm like, damn, man, these niggas be rocking Confederate flags and goddamn American flags. What the hell going on? Not only is this their government, but that's their people. I'm like, huh? And this is the delusion that a person believes that they could change the condition of black people just by making it to Congress. Like what? This is when you simplify shit too much. This is why I read, and this be coming from people that just read fucking definitions. They're just reading definitions and then going off of that. See, it says anyone. Like what? Is that how that functions though in the society that you live in? No, then not anyone. When I listen to most people, and it's sad because you kind of listen to multiple arguments, and you can see the people that stuff. Like if you hear like anybody who comes in and argues like history or whatever, they're first trying to like go off of this like basic. They first try to find the definition that fits their narrative. First things first. The problem with that is you always limit yourself when you think that you can just read the definition and apply it to any argument. It's level. It's level. At some point, you got to realize that, hey, well, because you got people talking about one person said this guy. I think one person was saying Lex thinks all black people are one race. Well, nigga, there's only two fucking races, and if you're black, you can't be fucking white. So what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, there's only two races. Like, what the hell do these people be talking about? Power to the dark side. Shout out to Kofi Hill in the building. There's literally only two races of people, and you got somebody saying this dude thinks that all black people globally are black. So what the fuck are they exactly? If they're not black in this society. And then the sad thing is, you got these silly ass niggas talking about some, I'm glad I'm not black. When they're in, but yet talking about the like integrating, like I don't know what the fuck they have this integrated mind state in the society where you're already black. So how the fuck is you having this discussion talking about someone glad I'm not black, but you're an American, where they say that you're black. The society says that. Like these motherfuckers is crazy. I've heard the most disgraceful, embarrassing shit I've ever heard in my fucking life. Power to the dark side, to the grand architect. Like real life. I've heard the craziest shit I've ever heard in my life today. Weird and like the like I said, the Confederate flags and the goddamn American flag, that should have been a dead giveaway. It should have been. But I really wasn't prepared to hear what I was like getting ready to hear. Not only are they government, like this was admitted tonight that they are the Abos are government. Like, wait, what? Your government. They are for the FBI and the CIA and all of that shit. And they will fight on behalf of these different organizations against people who believe that they are Africans, what they deem as foreigners. So, what the fuck? So now, mind you, these niggas is second goddamn class citizens in this country. So I'm confused as hell. Shout out to Kai Divo on that one. I'm confused. If you're a second class citizen at the most, how in the hell are you talking about you're the government when you're saying you can change the impact of black people if you got into Congress. First of all, there ain't a fucking position in the government of the United States where one person can get in there and change shit. It ain't that easy. That's not how this system is going to function in the direction it's going, no matter who moves into that position or who moves into the place, no matter who's president, no matter who's the governor, the mayor, whatever. We're going in one direction unless you decide you either going to stop the train or jump off of the train. But this is a runaway train and it's going the direction that it's going. You can try to run from that shit all you want. But the disgusting part is to hear niggas, and I'm talking about these avatars, these niggas is, I mean, like, come on, there's no question they're black. Like, like sub-Saharan looking ass niggas is sitting up here talking about some, I'm glad I ain't black. And I'm looking like, so you mean when you walk outside and white people interact with you, you telling me that before they don't have, let's say they don't even talk to you. When they call the police, what the fuck are they finna tell the police who's standing outside? Are they gonna say it was some aboriginals? Or are they gonna say it was some black people? Like these niggas is delusional as shit. And it's dangerous as hell because like in a way I kind of get it, I guess, like when you talk about like the psychology kind of, but it's like it's almost like as if they believe like so it's only two things that you can be when you're talking about being playing a part in the system. Like it'd be different if they was talking about doing their own shit in their own system or whatnot, but or non-participating. But these motherfuckers is talking about participating and they not black. So what the hell are you? White? This is the silly shit. So we got more white people again, more black people running around with the white doctrine again. This shit get sick every fucking day, man. Every day I think we make progress. Kendrick Lamar comes out and says he's a goddamn Israelite. Then we break him out of that. And then here comes Kyrie Irving jumping around the damn garden, burning sage, talking like he, jumping like he an Indian. These niggas came on and showed two, okay, they were dark skinned people in some fucking, I don't know what the hell they were wearing, like pink underwear or some shit. But the hair on these two dudes' heads, these niggas had the fucking, you remember Sarah O'Connor from Terminator? They had like the Sarah O'Connor hair on top of their head. These niggas was trying to convince us those was our ancestors. Like I'm scared for black people because like now it's almost like we're at the point where we're willing to, we're ready to eliminate ourselves. Like we're if you, it sounds like we are at the point of where we are willing to do anything not to be black. This is going, and you can hear it coming out in every single discussion. It's made its way into the gender war. Their end goal, they end up not being black. Shout out to Dice TV. Appreciate you in the building, God. They go in the building. Think about that though. It's infiltrated its way into the gender war. They're both now creating a breed out doctrine. You basically breeding out black while claiming that they're not breeding out black people. But both of them are talking about creating outside of black people. The Abos are not black, but they're American citizens. So if you're not black, you got to be fucking white. Even if you're trying to talk about like a Native American, even a Native American, if you're looking at how they function or treated in society, they're black. It's that simple. There's two ways that you're treated as you're either black or you're white. There's no multiple. There's 1,000. This nigga talking about black people ain't all one race. How many races are there, nigga? The minute you start talking about race, you immediately jump into the bag of black or white. Outside of that, now you're talking about different cultures and different uh, uh, ethnicities and different stuff like that. Now that's outside of race. That's different. But when you're talking about race, that's not how the system functions. That's not how the world was set up to function. It functions based off of black and white. Simple. Now, does it mean that the system functions in a way that where it has this pie in the sky for all white people? No, because in actuality, it would be best if the system is dismantled, not only for poor blacks or poor people of color they try to use or whatever. No, it's for poor people in general. Everybody is exploited in the current system. But the difference that, and this is something that Domo always explains well, is that the reason why they're happy to be exploited in the system is because they get to say they're not black. So they're willing to live in a trailer park and still look down at it. They even somebody in the trailer park still feels like he is more empowered, and he really kind of is when you look at it than LeBron James. These people are talking about, and you can look at even how these all of these different movements are on some like aging ass shit because I've already established the first thing they come in and do is tell you you're not black. Then the second thing they do is tell you you're not African. And then ain't none of them talking about going back to no Aboriginal culture. The Abos they ain't talking about no fucking Aboriginal culture. These niggas is talking about this being regular fucking American. The Israelites is trying to send us back to the goddamn to the Asiatic shit. I ain't gotta tell you about the Islam. They already told us where the tribe of Shabazz was. And then the worst part is that they all pick on us. They all pick on our natural phenotype. That's the worst part. This is why Whoopi Goldberg had to be skinnier. If we don't make Whoopi Goldberg skinnier and create a God that can actually last and that can actually where our features is respected, these niggas is trying to wash that shit the fuck out because that's how they're separating who's an African and who's an Asiatic, who's an African and who's an Abo. They looking, nah, they hair ain't like ours. Look at the lips. And so they're able to go, and I guarantee they're gonna tell you Whoopi Goldberg is a Hamite. Nah, that ain't our people. They running away from that's what I'm telling you. Niggas is trying to run away from those features. When I talk about that dark space, when we talk about going into in yourself and finding that ugly and learning how to love that in general, that's where black people are going to have to go because they psychologically made us feel like that is ugly. And every day as we move forward, it shows up in our fucking doctrines, the different organizations that's popping up. All these niggas got the same damn goal. You're not black, you're not African. Stay out of the way of the resources. They don't even when we even look at it, when we talk about capitalism, and in a way we talk about how for the most part in this system, black people are the means of production. But even when you look at the materials or the resources that are stolen from Africa, we're included in that. The labor is included with the raw materials and the resources. So at the same time, we're still we're still allowing ourselves like it's still a form of like robbing Africa. The more that they able to not only force us to work, but also continue to have infrastructure here that we ain't necessarily benefiting off of this to the same capacity as others. And really ain't even just about getting it as the same capacity as others. What we deserve. It's our shit. That's what we talk about when like the fight against the system and capitalism and different things like that's what's necessary in that fight is something that a lot of people aren't truly ready for. The way that we even have the discussion is not revolutionary. And it's cool. But I think it's a different like when we talk about the discussion that we just heard with Lex and the Aboriginal, like I think the discussion comes off differently if you don't try to put yourself off as being a revolutionary or somebody who creates revolutionary thought. Because if you talk about revolutionary thought, ain't shit revolutionary about I just want to be the Congress. You're not. No, the system ain't set up like that. Niggas is paranoid and panicking about Trump being in office. Like, nigga, if you think that the system is set up where one nigga can come in and fuck it up, you out your noodles. Niggas was pretending like this nigga ain't a part of the system. And like, nigga, we kept moving the same exact direction that we was moving before Trump, and we still moving in that direction after Trump. It looks slow as hell with Sleepy Joe, but damn it, we moving the same way. I ain't gonna lie, Sleepy Joe killing me right now. I look at the market, the crypto market, everything, man. He killing me right now. Like the nigga gotta do something better. But outside of that, that's another thing. But people aren't really ready to have a discussion about what revolution looks like. They'd rather talk about banking black. But you're not gonna build a bunch of black banks just to destroy them. That's why I say, even when we talk about even when we talk about the Pan-African movement, that's where it's almost falling under this Asiatic mindset. Because in a lot of ways, they just talking about black capitalists going in and now the exploitation that we've been suffering, trying to somehow uh you use those same tactics on the villagers in Africa. But I think and that's why I say the main part before we start talking about fighting, you got to understand what fighting even looks like in the system that you in. You're playing a game where like a monopoly and all of the pieces on the board are already bought up. That's playing you might as well be playing dice, shooting dice, and the nigga got rigged dice. Like the fuck is you trying to do? You're never gonna win that. Not playing that way. And this is where the argument of, well, this is the defeatism. No, it's not about being feeling defeated or being inferior. It's about playing the game by your own rules. You got to do shit outside of the box. We were fighting one way, and they came in and changed the way that war is fought. It was revolutionized, and we got our eyes whooped. Now we think that that we're gonna basically vote our way and black bank our way up out of the fucking situation that we currently in. That shit is not happening. We don't have that luxury. And I think this is the main part. It's a lack of knowing ourselves spiritually and that and our culture because we tend to resonate with other people's culture and those other people's culture all operate under the same illusion of scarcity and that and that you have to depend on the fact that everybody is greedy around you. You have to. You have to be under like even in like and that was like part of even the discussion we talking about like even capitalism. The main focus or in order to get you to actually continue to follow into the system or the coercion is not just scarcity, but the belief that everybody around you, shout out to Shay Love in the building, that everybody around you, right, is basically looking to get over on you. That there's no way we could just if we just left things alone, everybody would like you have to in order for them to keep things in check, in order you have to believe that everybody is just waiting to kill each other. Everybody is just waiting to steal and take too much. They have to have you under that. It, I hate to be cliche with it, but it is. It's the caveman mentality. To where it's like it's cold and it's not enough. But the way that the type of world that we live in, it should be more than enough. There's plenty. The problem is there's not enough for us to continue to waste the way that we waste. To continue to waste electricity, for us to be able to waste water. No, there's not enough of that to be able to throw away the amount of food that we throw away on a regular basis. No, there's definitely like there's not enough for Walmart to have all the unnecessary shit in there that they have. But when we talk about being able to actually feed the whole planet, there's plenty of that. There's plenty of space for everybody to be comfortable. There's plenty of food for everybody to be full. But you know what time it is. We not really ready to like just to kind of even kind of go into it, like in a lot of ways when you hear like the Pan African discussion in a lot of ways, right? How it kind of comes off. A lot of times it ends up being a discussion where basically we're gonna go there and we're gonna build these businesses there and we're gonna put these people to work. And this is where the dangers of private of things being becoming privatized, right? And everything being okay to be privatized. Because what now comes into play at is that you have these people who had land and they had water and whatever other resources there that they wanted. And once you go there and you privatize the land and you privatize the water, now you're the only reason why they need a job in order to drink and have a place to live at and freely eat. You're the only reason why. Because now you privatize the water source. They didn't need a job to get water before you got there. We're so see the problem is that we want to go. We talk about having our own and going home, but we want America. Like we want to take that with us. The problem is you take that virus with you too. You take that sickness, the lust for everything in society. You can never have it like everything. That's what I was saying. I think I may have said it yesterday. Everything has like the Doritos motto to it. Everything you can't just have one of. It's all like highly addictive and shit. The colors and everything that they use. All of these things play on you to make you feel comfortable about the current society that you live in, which is unsustainable. But we're worried about not having a washing machine. Like, and that's the scary part about it when we talk about black people and we get to referring to revolution and we get to talking about non-participation and some of the things that would have to actually occur. They don't even get to worrying about the true price that we have to pay, the true price for freedom, which is death, the true price for liberty, which is that they most so they we get stopped at the washing machine. Do they got a Six Flags? How close is the nearest McDonald's? And is it like our McDonald's? Like we don't even be. This is like where we're at right now. I'm gonna be able to get the sneakers, the J's. Like what? We haven't. That's why I say you're not going to understand when you're talking about revolutionary philosophy in general or a revolutionary movement in action. You're not going to know about that. Like you ain't gonna know if they really about that until you really kind of start talking about. I mean, and actually, it's two phases where you're gonna actually know where black people, where a group stands at. Is their discussion on capitalism, and then their discussion on a matriarchy. how they view how they view women, what role women are able to play in the society, major. If they're talking about capitalism, if those two things aren't two things that change and click, then you're looking at the same old shit every time. So it's a run. We constantly catch them. Everything sounds black power. Everything sounds pan African until we bring up capitalism. The doctrine sounds great. Everything is cool and solid. It's loving. And then we bring up we talk about patriarchy and plantation patriarchy specifically, but just patriarchy in general. We gonna keep running down the nature boy route. It's one thing for you to start the society, but at some point you have to lead the society to the women. You have to. Like, I don't even see how. I kind of got to be careful how I say it because in a lot of ways, and this isn't something that I'm talking like I'm exempt from. Like, this is something that it these addictions hinder us all. The virus hinders us all in a way the people in this type of society. But if you don't create something to where, like I said before, the people who we deem as most vulnerable are the ones who are allowed to create the rule and the ones who are actually controlling the situation and different things like that. You end up with your nature boy situation over and over again. A lot of what discourages us today is because the elders have gotten younger and younger and younger. Power to the dark side. Shout out to the high priestess Akasha in the building. They've gotten younger and younger. And by meaning that, I think it's already understood that the grandparents have virtually just gotten younger and younger to where you can say that type of thing doesn't really exist as it did before. So in a state, it's kind of hard for us to kind of see who exactly it is that's controlling this society. But most of us aren't going to be able to make it. And I think we already know that. Most of us should already know that not only are we not going to be able to make it, but on top of that, I think we should already know that most of us, in a sense, kind of like don't really want to. Real quick, let me go ahead and let me drop this on. You thought I might end up coming up in the building too. He might be trying to cool off right now. Shout out, fact. But nah, I mean, I think when we talk about being ready, I think the reason why is because I think most of us have already been affected with the lust and the addictions of this society. And I think when we talk about the goal in hand, in a lot of ways, it's not for us. But I think the sacrifice is for us. Like the move that's actually supposed to be made to shake things up and make it happen so that we can actually have a generation that comes out that doesn't have the mind. Like they don't see, like, even though we can, as good as people that we can be maybe in the society that we are in right now, this society and the what we live in has already tainted our view of sex. It's already created an image of what love is. It's already giving you what fear is and how you should worship, and like all of these different programs are kind of already in you already. And like what food is and how it should taste, and what, how drink should taste, and all of that different stuff. All of those type of things are all things that control us to a point to where it's something that we can't be trying to pass on, right? We can't be. And so even our view on how we handle problems is a sickness. We view handling problems through the lens of, well, it should be solved by whoever can inflict the most violence or the most punishment. Even that worldview is something that we can't take forward with us in the future. Because, like I said, the main thing, and I know people finna fall off when I get into this. Now we talk about agapic energy, right? The main thing is not necessarily about trying to have a conflict with the energy where you continue the cycle, but it's to change the energy that you're going heads up with. It's to change that energy and to morph it into something that can move in the same direction that you're moving in. Even when we talking about in martial arts, most of the things that you are learning in martial arts is how to use somebody's force against them to where they end up moving in the direction that you actually want them to move in. So in a way, when you talk about you're in combat and or you're practicing, you're a martial artist in a way, or even a boxer, right? What you are doing is actually transferring the energy that they are putting out, and you are using that for yourself as your own force. But it's easier though for a lot of people to want to try to meet force with the same force, with the same energy, and and that's that's cool to maybe stop momentum, or maybe to create a temporary change. But the issue is it never breaks the cycle. It can never break the cycle. So you have to be able to harness in a way the type of energy because that like I said, you're trying to change the momentum that you're up against. And if you can not only change the momentum, but also use it to catapult you, then now you've been able to not only change the trajectory that you was going in, but also you've broken the cycle. And I think that's the true when we talk about the problem with the planet in general, that's the true problem with the planet. Everybody is afraid to break that cycle. Everybody has to get their lick back. Nobody can take a loss. And if they do, it's not for long. Not after you sit on it, you taste your own blood, this and that. Now you're ready to go get active. So in a lot of ways, hold on, man. I see this gotta do some smoke. I sister, I notice every time we get into the gothic energy, it's exorcism time. I already know. And y'all made it somewhere around here. He getting moved right now as I speak on it. I already know. I told y'all though that love doctrine is undefeated. It's undefeated. I'm looking like so, and even in what's even wilder, right, is that the another point when we talk about like in general agapic energy, like even the things that change history and you've seen shifts in power, the way that war was fought was always different. The way that war was fought was always different. Like literally, because at one point it was the people you had the spears and maybe some bow and arrows, and then you had and then you had the people who came in on horses. And then when those people came in on horses, until everybody else was able to catch up, they were just in complete domination. But then people catch up, it kind of revolutionized. They not only they kind of changed the way you ride horses and how they're used. How do they do that? You see them begin to put the chariots on the back of the horses. Now they're shooting the bows and become marksmen from the back of the horses. Kill it. You see the next phase. You have motherfuckers coming in on elephants. Taming elephants and using elephants is something that can actually be a productive tool for weaponry. That changes the game. Then you get the Chinese rocking with fucking around with gunpowder. They end up with the weapon, with the gun. Then from gunpowder, what do you get? The next shift, atomic warfare or nuclear warfare. They begin splitting atoms. So what is the next phase? What direction do you think that can go? So the next move is on us because we know the next situation that comes back around is on us. The question is, what direction are we planning on going? Because Each thing that's been created only gets worse and worse for the planet, and none of which break the cycle. They all continue the same thing. Where people come to a way that where they can at least try to catch up in a way where they can, gain some sort of power. And then they revolutionize the way it's fought and they make things worse for the planet in general. So do we continue on our turn of this to up the ante and continue the cycle and wait for somebody else to up the ante on us? Or do we break it? Or do we break that cycle, move forward? It's a reason why a lot of this is hanging on us. And the main purpose of it is because the the cosmos know that we can handle this. We the only people who actually have the strength to be able to take what we've taken and to be able to actually forgive and move forward. That's an actual possibility for us. Like, and that's a and people see that as a weakness, but that's a unique power that we possess. That's a very unique power. One that puts us in position to not only to the negative energy that has been pushed out on us, but to transfer it into positive energy. So we can continue the cycle where we can change the trajectory that humanity goes forever. That's an actual shift in consciousness. Because I think everybody is already in position. I think where most people already have an understanding that it's our time now. Their time is up. So we're moving into that realm now. The question is what do we do with it? Do we get more savage, more gritty, and grimy as these other as the other people? We can try to go there. I don't really believe collectively we got it in this. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this damn predicament. I think the necessary evil that we talk about, it's for the most part, it's not even it's not something that you can look and say as a collective that's something that we have in us. We're not really willing to do anything for power. Shout out to Ghost. Appreciate you in the building, God. We're not. Y'all finna, y'all finna spit. Like literally. So that place that we pretend like we can go, nah, we ain't got that in us. We otherwise we'd have been went there. It's a certain level of respect that we have for like nature and humanity that does not allow us to go there. Because you gotta understand, to go to the places and the length that they was willing to go with Aboriginal people globally, you have to be able to look at other people as non-human, as animals. And collectively, that's not something that we have the ability to do. That's the one place that we can't go. And maybe if we can, I don't see you ever coming back from that. So at some point, we got the opportunity stands on us. The most has been put on our shoulders to say what are we going to exactly bear moving forward. You've been built to handle this. Like literally, you've been built to change. Like I remember it was a lecture that Farrakhan was talking about. He was talking about like the secrets of masonry, the sword on over the box, and what he was saying was like basically inside of that was like the secrets. It basically said that inside of black people was the ability to build a new heaven and a new earth. And when you really kind of look at that in general, you talking about building, that's a total shift in like the direction that we go in. Because up in the ante doesn't build a new heaven and a new earth. That's not what ups the ante. That builds the same old shit. You just you just switching places. But this is the deeper psychology when you talk about the Bible in general. This is why we talking about the same God was the one that ruled in each kingdom. When we talk about all the what they say the seven kingdoms or whatnot. So regardless, it looks like it's seven kingdoms. It's really only one. Our goal is to break that kingdom. We're building a new kingdom outside of the usual function, outside of what you might usually see. Hold on one second. Outside of what you don't usually see. So the fight, and that's why I say, like, for the most part, the fight is on the inside. Letting go. But a lot of times they talk about forgiveness, you gotta remember a lot of that's not necessarily uh, always for the other person. A lot of that is to kind of free yourself from what's been dragging you, holding you down, pulling you down, making you feel sick. We were created in a definite, we definitely are created in a unique way. And people look at it as like a light. So imagine when you show the world that you like the type of the type of change that you can create. That's why I say they can create any type of force that they want to, any type of force. But you're not gonna outdo or outpower the energy of love. You just ain't got it. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. But this comes with a whole different mindset, getting away from the war deities, This is why this is why you have to create the type of deities that not only have a that solve problems through thinking. Like I don't understand it. So we gotta kind of like even stop fantasizing. Like we really finna start doing. Like it's a lot that goes into the what the when you talk about the position that we in right now. It wasn't a pride issue for the natives globally. Huh. It was nobody was willing to go as far as they was willing to go for power, for land. Nobody was. Globally, everybody looked at them like they was fucking crazy. So there's no need to pretend like that's the space or the mindset we need to go in and the direction that we can go in. The civil rights movement already laid down the foundation. It was what gives us not only the most numbers, but the most effect. All of which they give us both. Because that's why they're saying it, you talk about war or fighting, everybody's not going to be able to hold a gun. Everybody can't use a knife. Everybody won't be able to fight. But everybody can non-participate. Everybody can resist authority. Everybody can love, and everybody can do it. Can make a sacrifice. Everybody can. Hold on, wait. I'm, t- I'm telling you. Oh shoot. Oh yeah. So yeah, speaking of the playoffs, we've been chopping it up about the playoffs. Shout out to the commissioner in the building. Let me see what we got. Are you live? Are you live right now, Solo? Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go ahead and move. I want to go check out the official bracket. So we shall definitely do that. As I said, man, I appreciate everybody in the building tuning in. We definitely shall get it in. And definitely, yeah, we definitely shall get it in. I want to see what this bracket. Hopefully, it looks like. Hopefully, it's still the same. I should be going through AOY on my way to the chip. So yeah, let's go ahead and move the party over that direction. Let's see exactly where we standing at. And yeah, we should be looking at me and Domo in the championship. Simple and plain. With that being said, y'all know, just to represent the bracket, we're leaving out with this one.
Ryu, this is crazy.
Yeah. Watch. Y'all already know what time it is, huh? Watch.
Tell them keep playing dumb like ain't nobody a witness. Swear to God on my mama, everybody gon' get it eye. Everybody that's with them cause everybody I lit them Keep playing dumb like ain't nobody a witness. Swear to God on my mama, everybody gon' get it eye. Everybody that's with them cause everybody I lit them Niggas can't stand on shit, we living stressed out. Finna get a medal of honor, we bringin' vex out. And you get stepped on every time you step out. You not a stepper where you from, you a step down. And stop reppin' where you from, you a let down. Can't be seen where you from, you keep your head down. That fat nigga mention my name, I'm breaking lead out. RIP another boss nigga, I think he bled out. He ain't gon' make it, I'm taking another head count. COVID so hot, I keep him from leaving beds out. Niggas self-snitching on live, bringing the fans out. They the last nigga took a old talking about how he dead now. You don't know your life too short, that had me stressed out. Somewhere he took a wrong turn, I on the death route. Try the little boy yard blue, I bring the chef out. Put a whole drum on the 9, that bitch attack now. Keep playing dumb like ain't nobody a witness. Swear to God on my mama, everybody gon' get it eye. Everybody that's with them cause everybody I hit them up. Keep playing dumb like ain't nobody a witness on my mama. Swear to God, everybody gon' get it eye. Everybody that's with them cause everybody I lit them You can cry all you want, but I don't do tissue. So the guy you don't get through if you let blue get you. I put Nino on that mag, let my boo get you. Making playboy moves with that new issue. When you surrounded by them snakes, you don't know who bit you. And that's the problem with you fakes, you don't know who hit you. And if I'm trying to make it shake, I don't care who with you. Call me Bruce MBD Sam, I got 2 pistols. AOI, a bunch of lanes, don't let that shoe fit you. And you better keep them tight, don't let that shoe fit loose. I can't miss, everything got shoe hit you. I ain't friendly, ain't shit, about blue been cool. And you know I don't forget I'm like an elephant. Ayo, and the eye really irrelevant. Assed out, and we know we lacking intelligence. Keep them out your circle before you regret you let them in.
Ryu, this is crazy.